crazier things have happened. But something that Donald Trump did had an enormous impact on Medicaid today. On Medicaid, Donald Trump decided to freeze federal aid. Well, it turns out that impacted other things. Now, when I first heard about this, I was like, what about SNAP benefits? You know, I'm thinking with this type of mindset, like people that have SNAP, et cetera. But let's get into the federal aid freeze, and then we'll talk about what happened with Medicaid. It is crazy out here in these streets, fam. Let's get into it.
This morning, another sweeping action by President Trump as he remakes the federal government in his first full week in office.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Overnight, NBC News learning that the White House has ordered a freeze of federal aid starting at 5 p.m. today.
My administration has been moving with urgency and historic speed to reverse every single disaster of the Biden administration.
The new head of the government's budget office saying in an internal memo obtained by NBC News that the pause extends to, quote, all federal financial assistance and activities affected by President Trump's recent executive orders, including foreign aid, non-governmental organizations, DEI, woke gender ideology, and the Green New Deal. The memo says Social Security and Medicare will not be affected, and neither would payments directly from the government to individuals. But
pause. So notice they said Social Security and Medicare will not be affected. Remember, Medicaid is different than Medicare, right? People that are on Medicaid, in order to qualify for Medicaid, I remember this when I worked in healthcare, in order to qualify for Medicaid, you have to have already exhausted all funds, right? So if you still have, let's say, $50,000 like in your savings account, you probably wouldn't qualify for Medicaid because they'll show, oh, you still have funds, right? So these are people that are in dire situations. They need that healthcare through Medicaid.
Many Americans get federal funds on everything from loans to food aid to farm assistance indirectly, and it's unclear if those programs would be affected. The order says it's targeting the parts of the government that will be changed by President Trump's recent executive actions that could include everything from some efforts to lower prescription drug costs to clean energy jobs and programs. Congressional Democrats overnight saying the president's actions, quote, put the financial security of our families, our national security, and the success of our country at risk. The Trump administration argues the government needs to align with, quote, the will of the American people as expressed through presidential priorities.
We got rid of the woke crap.
It's part of a series of recent actions from President Trump, including executive orders on the military yesterday, focused on rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion, and recognitions of transgender service members. And he said building an Iron Dome-style missile defense system around the country.
We protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves.
Okay, so what happened today because of that? Again, tonight's theme is useful tools, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it appears, folks, this is not good news for Medicaid. I saw this news earlier today and I was like, holy smokes. It first was announced with the state of Illinois. Trump's federal funding freeze to disrupt vast array of programs. Illinois shut out of Medicaid. Oh, God, this was not a goodie. Oh, no. It says here, so let's get into the Medicaid part. Okay. It says that Medicaid, I want to get to this part. Millions in Illinois rely on Medicaid. I'll make this bigger. I like to make it bigger so you guys can read along with me as well. They rely on Medicaid, okay? So it says nearly 4 million lower income Illinoisans, I've never heard them called that, but it's interesting, had their health care covered in 2023 by Medicaid, a system in which the federal government reimburses the state about half of every dollar in medical costs. Roughly about a quarter of the state population is eligible for Medicaid coverage, including many children, pregnant women, and people with disabilities. Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza said the state processed all $518 million in Medicaid bills last week and received its federal match on Monday before Trump administration apparently shut down access to the system. However, I am very concerned about how long this freeze may last. That's coming from Mendoza. In a federal memo, Vaith wrote, the use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and a Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve. Okay, so they're talking about that portion there. It goes on to say, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Rao joined James and the attorney generals from California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island in vowing to collectively fight this unconstitutional mandate. So they're trying to fight back against this. It says the unconstitutional pause in funding will have a devastating impact on the public safety, prosperity, and quality of life. Democrats and Republicans alike will be negatively impacted by this pause in funding. Now, another thing that I want to bring up here is the impact in Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson goes on to say these unprecedented attempts to defund childcare or to defund infrastructure projects, this is something that is well outside our purview of the executive office. So to make a long story short, apparently the first announcement that I heard came from the state of Illinois. At that point, it seemed like it was just Illinois that was affected by this. Later on, it seemed to affect other states as well. Listen to this. The White House says Medicaid portal will be back online shortly after Trump funding freeze blamed. So it says Medicaid reimbursement portals were down in all 50 states after the Trump administration ordered a freeze on federal grants and loans, said Senator Ron Wyden, who is from Oregon. The shutdown in access to the Medicaid system came a day after the Office of Management and Budget Director Matthew Vaith issued a memo ordering a temporary pause of agency grant loan and other financial assistance programs. The White House spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, said she expected systems to be back online shortly without any effect on payments. And you can see here's a image here that says Save Medicaid. So I believe that it is back up and running now. I think it was a scary moment there for quite a bit of people. I do know also that a federal judge has just recently, right before I went live on the show, implemented a pause on freezing the federal aid. I believe that pause is supposed to last until next Monday. I don't know what is going to happen after that pause, but yikes, right? So one thing to keep in mind, again, when we talk about being pro-worker, when we talk about supporting the working class, is that this is not something that would support the working class. Whether you agree with Trump on immigration, or let's say you agree with him on some of the other issues. I know some people do agree with him on the economy, although we have not seen the prices go down yet. That hasn't been an executive order yet. You do have to understand that this is not good for the working class, which is what I've tried to say multiple times, that both of these parties support the billionaire class, not the workers. Medicaid reimbursement portals were down Tuesday in every U.S. state after the Trump administration ordered a freeze on federal grants and loans. But the White House later said it expected the systems to be back online shortly without any effect on payments. So if you have Medicaid, just make sure you check on that, right? All right. When they're talking about the payments, just make sure you check that. Right. We're talking about the federal government, and they've been known to screw up paperwork before, whether it's electronic or not. It goes on to say the staff confirmed reports that Medicaid portals were down in all 50 states following last night's federal funding freeze. This is a blatant attempt to rip away health insurance from millions of Americans overnight and will get people killed. So I don't think that was the goal. I don't think the goal was to just take health insurance away from everybody. But I do think that this is something that I don't know who thought this was a good idea. It was not a good idea. And they seriously did not sit down and think about all the ramifications that this could have. Senator Chris Murphy also spoke out and said Connecticut's Medicaid payment system has also turned off. So it was Illinois and then it was Connecticut. Doctors and hospitals can't get paid. Discussions ongoing about whether services can continue. Brian from Hawaii said, this is a Trump shutdown. This is a Trump shutdown, except this time it's unlawful. So scary times here, folks. They're saying no payments have been affected. Again, I would double check that if I were you. I know how the government has said things have not been affected before, and they have been. So that's one of the things that did happen. And then there is the purge of the labor board. So there's a couple of things that have been moved around, folks. This one is a really big one. And if you're pro worker and you're pro labor, this is a nail in the coffin here. Not good. Trump fires acting labor board chair in legal dubious move. From what I understand, this is not legal. It says that he fired acting chair of the NLRB, Democrat Gwen Wilcox, late Monday night. He also fired the general counsel of the labor board, Jennifer Abruzzo, a strong advocate for unionization. So let's highlight this. If you are pro-union, I mean, the NLRB is good for unions. Good for unions. Don't forget, and I'm waiting to see if Sean O'Brien is going to say something from the Teamsters, because Sean O'Brien spoke at the Republican convention. Now, the Teamsters didn't endorse Kamala or Trump, but Sean O'Brien did speak at the GOP convention. So I wonder if he's going to say something about this, because this does not look good. It says, together the dismissals signal a broad purge at the nation's labor regulator, which had been an exceptionally strong ally to workers and unions over the past 4 years. Wilcox was the NLRB's first Black woman board member. Here we go with the first Black woman. Watch, people are going to say it was a DEI hire. Watch. How much you bet? Where it stands, under the national labor law, board members can only be fired for neglect of duty or malfeasance. Wilcox had served as acting board chair just for a few days at the end of the Biden administration, and it had been expected she would be replaced and resume her duties as board member. She said she was looking into the possibility for challenging her removal. The White House didn't immediately respond to Axios' request for comment. Wilcox said she just got a letter from the White House and was still processing the news. My term ends in August 2028. I believe that I should be able to be a board member and contribute to this country. The board is now left with just 2 members, one Democratic and one Republican. Not enough to reach any decisions until Trump appoints a new board member. Oh boy. And by the way, the Whole Foods employees in Philadelphia just went on strike. First time Whole Foods goes on strike. So I don't even know if they're going to have any protection. That's the point that I'm bringing up here. The board is now left. Wilcox said that in that letter Trump sent Monday night, he wrote that the NLRB hasn't fulfilled its responsibilities to the American people. And he believes he has the right to remove a board member despite the labor law that says they can only be removed for neglect. So this is Trump going above the law. The big picture. During his campaign, Trump portrayed himself as a fighter for workers. His nomination of Lori Chavez, considered a pro-labor lawmaker as labor secretary, was seen as a signal of a friendlier worker stance. But Chavez seems to be on shaky ground. A number of Republican senators are taking issue with her pro-union stances. NBC News reported on Monday. So here we go. Yes. Deborah said he's overreaching. Yes. Here we go again. Why would you be anti-union? Why would you be against the workers? Like anybody. Again, I don't care what political party you're a part of, but why would you go against the workers? One of the strongest abilities that an employee has is their power to unionize. You take that away, what's left? What's left? I think what we could all start doing again is advocating for people to start worker co-ops. I think that's got to be the lane to go down, because this isn't safe. Trump's dismissals appear to signal that his second administration will position itself similarly to the first, with its thumb firmly on the employer side of the scale. Now, for those of you who doubted me, what did I tell you about billionaire and billionaire influence? Donald Trump is a billionaire. Who do you think he's going to protect? There are very few people that I've met in my life that have been class traders. Very few. So it seems like his first administration, he's going to err on the side of the billionaire class. Like, what do they want? The CEOs, the corporations. Another thing I wanted to add here, we're talking about Abruzzo. Wilcox and Abruzzo have been outstanding public servants who have dedicated their lives to ensuring fair treatment for workers. I can only interpret their discharges as a signal that the NLRB will no longer prioritize that important mission. Workers now have no protection for the right to be in a union. This is not good. Like I said, the employees at Whole Foods in Philly just went on strike, and now they have no protection. So does everybody see now what I've said before about who's looking out for the working class? Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.